This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Yes, I shaved. I'm going to talk about it in all the videos today, and then that'll be the last of it until I grow the beard back, I think. This is what my face looks like under that mass of red and white, grayish, blondish hair. So I'm sorry, or you're welcome. I'm not sure which. Let's talk about this polling that you've been hearing about. Maybe you've been hearing about if you're paying attention, if you're on Twitter, and there's a lot of on the both sides kind of thing about the relative accuracy or importance of this poll from the New York Times. Here's the headline from the New York Times. Crosstabs, October 2023 Times Siena poll of the 2024 battlegrounds. Donald Trump leads Joe Biden in 5 of 6 key battlegrounds polled by the New York Times and Siena College. You're going to hear a lot about it. In fact, leading up to the election, the closer we get, the more it matters. But when we're this far out, let's just get the cards on the table. A poll of this sort is almost meaningless. Almost absolutely meaningless because it's a hypothetical. It's an absolute hypothetical, and we as humans don't think accurately when given this type of a hypothetical. If the election were held today, blah, 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 blah. Kind of nonsense. But this is what they did, and they found that Donald Trump is leading Joe Biden by some massive margins, like double-digit margins, in certain battleground states, which are important because most states, are kind of a foregone conclusion. California is gonna go Democrat. Idaho, gonna go Republican. Oklahoma, it's gonna go Republican. There are a few states that are on the verge of becoming battleground states, Texas being one of them. But for the most part, states are static. They are what they are. But Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Did I say that one? I mean, there's a few out there that are important. But I want to talk about this polling and why you should ignore it. Not just because we're so far out, but because of the mechanisms by which and who they polled. So let's take a look at this. Here's the first question. Do you think the United States is on the right track or is headed in the wrong direction? And here is the fundamental flaw with this poll. They polled so many people who didn't vote in 2020 that it doesn't matter what their opinion is of 2024 because of the likelihood or lack thereof that they're going to vote in 2024. They didn't take part in 2020. What gives us the idea that they're engaged enough to take part in the process now? Look at this. Again, do you think the United States is on the right track or is headed in the wrong direction? Those who said right track, 22% didn't vote in 2020. 63% who said wrong direction didn't vote. Here's the next question. Thinking ahead to next year's presidential general election, are you almost certain that you will vote? Very likely to vote, somewhat likely to vote, not very likely to vote, blah, 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 blah. Again, the same thing arises here with the did not vote. Who cares what these people think? Even about whether they're going to vote, it doesn't matter. But then the real questions about who you will vote for come around. Thinking about the upcoming election in 2024, if the election were held today, who would you vote for if the candidates were Joe Biden, the Democrat, and Donald Trump, the Republican? Now look at these numbers. 35% who said Joe Biden did not vote in 2020. I know it seems like I'm beating a dead horse here, but what is the New York Times doing? And that's what we'll talk about after I drop this screenshot. 50% of the people who said if the election was held today, they would vote for Donald Trump. 50% of them did not vote for either candidate in 2020. That is meaningful. These people are not a good barometer of what the election will turn out to be because they didn't take part in the franchise in 2020. Anyway, that's it. We'll leave that at that. The other reason that the question comes up is, where is the media landscape in the United States? I don't want to continue to harp on mainstream media, but if there is a such thing as a mainstream media, and there is, New York Times is at the top of the heap for what mainstream media is, what old world media is, establishment media. They are certainly not independent media. So is there an agenda here? I mean, ultimately, that is the question I'm asking. Why would they do this? Why would it be so sloppy that they're polling sometimes majority of voters who did not vote in the previous election? We don't know if they voted in 2016, but who cares? Let me say, it may be harsh, but if you're out there, if you're watching this, it's likely you're involved in politics, interested in politics, and engaged. You likely voted. But if you didn't vote in 2020 or 2016, I don't care what your opinion is. It's not that you don't have a say. You certainly have a say. You have an opinion. You have free speech. You can voice those opinions. But this guy doesn't give a shit about what you think. Unless you're actively engaged and care enough to go and wait in line or vote by mail or whatever you do, your opinion doesn't really matter to me. And it shouldn't matter to the New York Times. How do they know that this 63% who said that the country's going in the wrong direction, how do they know that 63% that didn't vote, who didn't vote in the 2020 election, how do they gauge that they're more likely to vote this time? I don't know the answer. They don't know the answer. But because it creates drama, oh no, Donald Trump is likely to win. Is it possible he's going to win? Sure. But should we get ourselves in a tizzy? Should we start freaking out that Donald Trump is leading because of this poll in these particular states? Far more than a year, not far more, but more than a year before the actual election, when the attention span of your average American is like a third of the way through a commercial stop set during a sitcom? No, we shouldn't. All kinds of things are going to happen between now and then that will impact the minds of the voters, the decision-making of the voters, the choices of those voters. Hopefully, some things happen that will lead that 63%, that 50%, that 26% of individuals who were polled by the New York Times who didn't vote in 2020, will lead them to make the right decision relative to voting for Joe Biden. Knowing that Donald Trump has fascistic tendencies, he's a wannabe autocrat. He looks up to Kim Jong-un and Viktor Orban and these other despots across the globe, Vladimir Putin, first and foremost. Hopefully they wake up to that. But if they don't, who cares? They're not voting. Their opinion does not matter. What do you think? I would love to know if you voted. If you voted, leave a comment below and let the group know collectively. No shame on those who didn't. We just, it doesn't really matter. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, you can call 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, every day, all the time, you can email me as long of an email as you'd like, daily@dollemore.com. If you want to help support my work, that would be fantastic. You can, first and foremost, if you'd like to, even if you're a channel member, you can cancel that and move over to Patreon. We're getting ready to send out our end of the year Patreon gift. We do it every year. If you become a patron on Patreon by the end of the year, you'll get that, whatever tier you're in. And it is patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. If you're not a fan of Patreon, you want to stay on YouTube, become a channel member, $2 a month. Click the join button below, see what's involved with that. You can hit the super thanks button. You can buy some merch. Just make sure you're subscribed and sharing and liking and engaging with this video or my videos, just like you engage in the electoral process. Anyway, follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, Blue Sky. All of them. I'd love to see you there at Dollemore. And I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.